I'm sitting here with Kristin Gast, a Minnesota blogger.
True.
Who blogs at, where do you blog at, Kristin?
KristinGast.com and LittleMissBrideToBe.com.
LittleMissBrideToBe.com. Nicely done.
Thank you.
So, when did you start blogging?
I started KristinGast.com in November, I believe, of last year.
November of last year.
Yes. And then Little Miss Bride to Be, I started, I think, probably in April of this year.
Okay, so why did you start KristinGast.com originally?
Well, you, David Erickson, made me. However, it was a good exercise in not only learning the ins and outs of blogging and HTML coding and that sort of thing, but it's also, I think it's important, and it's a great way to connect with all the other professionals online who, in Minnesota and outside of... Should I be looking at this?
Yeah, you're on recording. You can look at me. It's all right.
Okay.
Yeah. So what's it done for you so far? Aside from a lot of work?
It is a lot of work. It has definitely opened my eyes to the world around me. So whether it's an article I'm reading or something I see on the street, just sort of realizing that there's stories to be told about things that I guess I would have never really thought about exploring further.
Okay.
So that would be one thing, and it's definitely helped me meet new people.
Interesting.
And this online society is sort of, like Natalie likes to say, kind of like a closed-door little cool kids club, and it's one step is you got to kind of just bust in and try things out and see where you can fit in, and I think I'm starting to figure that out.
Right. So. What was your biggest hurdle to starting a blog?
My biggest hurdle was a lack of confidence for not thinking I had anything worthwhile to say.
How did you overcome that?
I don't really know if I have fully overcome it. I have started to try and think a little more critically about possible blog posts to try and make them a little more intelligent or a little more meaty, but also trying to instill my personality in them, because I do think I have worthwhile things to say, person to person, so just trying to figure out how to translate that online is...
Okay. So let's back up a moment. I forgot to ask you, what is your blog about?
There's another hurdle. That's also been my biggest hurdle, is right now my blog doesn't really have a honed-in focus. It's just sort of me trying to express myself as a 20-something and a young professional, new in my career, kind of all the things that I struggle with and I find interesting and help me grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think my biggest hurdle is not having that focused sort of niche environment that I can really identify with and flourish in, so trying to figure that out.
So then leading to a very focused and niched
Yes.
environment in which you can flourish in. What about this new blog of yours?
Yes, this my wedding blog is a lot easier to write. It is...
And again, where's that at?
LittleMissBrideToBe.com.
Okay.
I originally was a columnist on Just Judy, and recently, as of, I think yesterday, officially made my domain public with all my posts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of just testing it out and need to work with her on the proper transition, but it's a lot easier to write. I don't even know. It's there's a lot of wedding content online. It's overwhelming, and I think that for being recently engaged, online was sort of a natural outlet to try and find inspiration and learn from past mistakes and successes, and so starting my own blog is kind of wanting to document this part of my life.
Right. So, how are you going to deal with this? Little Miss Bride to Be implies, it doesn't imply, it says an end.
Yes.
So you will no longer be at some point Little Miss Bride to Be, but you'll be Little Miss Bride. So what are you going to do to when that moment occurs with your blog?
I haven't figured out what that'll look like. I have purchased other domain names on this. I like this theme of Little Miss, like those little characters in children's books. So I purchased Little Miss Wife, and so that'll be the next stage of my life. However, I'm struggling with if I want to have everything kind of roll into the next blog and just completely delete my Little Miss Bride to Be, or if it is something that's still there out in the public domain just as existing as it is.
Right.
So I think that that's something I have to think about. I have a year to figure it out, so I'm sure there'll be lots of brainstorming.
So are you going to change your name when you get married?
I am going to change my name.
So then here's the interesting question that female bloggers almost exclusively have to deal with is your online identity that you build up through your blog and through social media and everything begins with you as a person.
Yeah.
And then when you enter into this relationship, all of a sudden your name changes, your identity changes as a result of your name changing. Plus you've got this identity that you're building up through your Little Miss Bride-to-be, and that will be Little Miss Bride. So what are your thoughts about the identity and online?
Yeah, that's a blog post that I'm going to write for both of my blogs. I think it's a topic that's worth exploring in both realms, versus, personally and professionally. So it's something that I am going to definitely try and tackle on my blogs. However, if nothing, first off, it's just a pain. I've had to buy my new domain name. I've saved my new Twitter account because I'm terrified that the other Kristin Lenander in Sweden is going to take it. I think so. There's those, just sort of that hassle of trying to figure out all of the identities that you have and go about changing them. And then the other thing that's unfortunate is there's things like Facebook and YouTube that do not let you change your account name.
Right.
So on Facebook, I will forever be Kristin Gast as my URL, and on YouTube, I will forever be Kristin Gast. So there's that challenge online, and then professionally as well. This isn't anything new for women. Women here in our office have had to go through this of media know me by my maiden name. I have all of these relationships built up professionally that when I change my last name, if I'm sending an email, it's anybody else. It could be anybody else. They have no idea who I am anymore.
Right.
So I'm struggling right now with if I'm going to keep my maiden name for my professional career.
Stage name.
Right, stage name, at least for the time being. And so that's something that I'll kind of have to wait and see, but it is a hassle, and it's kind of scary, and I'm hoping that the transition is easy, but I really don't know what to expect.
Right. So what have you learned from blogging so far?
I have learned the value of a comment. I read a ton of blogs, and I read a ton of blogs even before I was a blogger, and I rarely commented just because, I felt like it didn't matter, I had nothing insightful to say, or I just didn't take the extra time to do it, and now I realize how valuable those are to a blogger, is to get that comment, get that extra motivation and that encouragement to keep going, because it's tough to write a bunch and not really get a lot of responses.
Right.
So that's definitely become apparent. I have also learned, I'm starting to learn which posts are most successful. So I have never been very long-winded in my writing, but I'm finding myself condensing my writing even further and further as I go along. Using a lot of bullets, a lot of lists, and I'm now trying to get more into multimedia posts, so posting videos, whether they're my own or others that I find, because those are obviously more successful than text, even though I don't like watching videos on blogs. So,
what's been the biggest surprise?
I think the biggest surprise is what content or what post topic will grab attention and what ones just for whatever reason don't. So if it could be the time of day or the day of the week, but I could have two what I think are equally interesting posts, and one can really take off and the other one just kind of sits there. And so I think that that would be something that's interesting. I mean, my CNN post that I wrote right away when CNN didn't attribute my tweet in a story took off like wildfire because it was really interesting and it was a hot topic, and I think I kind of set my expectations a little high.
Say, beginner's luck.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be one thing, is to just try and manage my own expectations and realize that I'm not going to be posting something that's going to get retweeted 500 times
by CNN
and get 40 comments and that kind of thing.
Right. Any parting thoughts?
Parting thoughts. I guess I would just say I'm interested, and I'm a little nervous to see how I'm able to handle these two different identities online, and trying to manage this personal niche account that's a lot easier to update more frequently and find blog topics. And so I think I'll be interested to kind of see how that works out, and if anybody out there has multiple accounts and has figured it out, I would love the tips, because trying to find enough time to blog on one blog is hard enough, and now I have two, so... Okay,
so people can find you at KristinGast.com, at LittleMissBrideToBe.com, and on Twitter at...
Kristin Gast.
All right. Thanks for taking the time out to talk.
Thanks, Dave. Yep.